According to the latest national survey by the Associated Press, food prices across the nation have increased 6.2% since January. But here in Montgomery, an Alabama Farm Bureau survey reports a rise in prices of 6.9%. Both higher fuel cost and the strike by independent truckers added to the increased cost of food. In contrast to the general upward spiral of food prices since the first of the year, food prices in the capital city declined 1% in July. Now, that wasn't as good as the 1.8% decrease in Atlanta, but a lot better than the 5.9% jump in food prices in Dallas. Ground beef that's been costing more recently went up 5 cents. Pork chops went up 16 cents a pound. Eggs, which have been generally cheaper in many cities, were up 2 cents. And one food item that did drop in price is milk, down 2 cents a gallon in July here in Alabama. The higher food costs, coupled with the higher unemployment rate the state is experiencing, paints a rather gloomy economic picture for Alabama, as the prospect of a recession appears stronger. Michael Jones, WSFA TV News.
The system is called Spray Cool, and how it works is very simple. Small streams of water are automatically sprayed for 10 seconds once every 10 minutes after the roof temperature reaches 90 degrees. Solar evaporation cools the roof and dissipates heat inside a home. We went back to the Charles Smith residence in Montgomery to see if the system had indeed cut his electric bills during the recent summer months. He showed us his power bills from this past July and that of the same month in 1978. Smith notes the only way to accurately tell if Spray Cool is helping is to look at the kilowatt hours used. In July of 1978, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath home consumed 3,320 kilowatt hours. This year's July bill showed Smith used 1,955 kilowatt hours. He says he's convinced the system works.
The past 2 months utility bill, we've had a substantial decrease in it. And I thought the system had merit in the beginning, and I'm convinced of it now.
Has your water bill increased dramatically?
No, the water bill has been increasing about $1.50 or $2, not over $2. I think was the most increase that we've noticed.
Is there any idea how much you'll save this year?
No, not a total, but right now we're saving about 60 or 70% on the light bill. See?
Not only is Charles Smith happy, but Spray Cool marketing manager Bill Smith, no relation, says of the 30 homes with the system in the central Alabama area, this one is doing extremely well on saving energy. Spray Cool can cost between $695 and nearly $900, depending upon the type and size of the house. Paul Roth, WSFA TV News.
Around 55 Klan members gathered under the hot midday sun to march through downtown Montgomery. Only slightly more than 35 of them wore the traditional white hooded robes. Chants of white power echoed as the procession made its way slowly down Dexter Avenue from the Capitol, past the federal court building, up Adams Avenue, and finally returning to the Capitol. Spectators along the streets had little visible reaction to the Klan. A few people stretched out in the sun on the grassy hills in front of the Capitol building. Following the march, the leader of the Klansmen, Don Black, told the group they were marching to show someone is fighting for the rights of white people. One of the reasons for the march was to protest a recently passed state law that forbids firearms within 1,000 feet of a public demonstration. Black said the Klan will challenge the law in court.
We believe it's unconstitutional. We believe it's very awkward and it's impossible to enforce equally. And we believe we're going to win. So Monday morning, we will be filing a suit and we will attempt to have a declaratory judgment, a ruling against this law, and have it thrown out so that people of Alabama will not be plagued by this kind of restriction, which leads ultimately to a tyranny.
A few minutes later, the demonstration disbanded, with many of those here today planning to attend a cross-burning planned for tonight near Millbrook. The Klansmen vowed to take on an even more visible appearance with more rallies planned in the upcoming weeks. The beginning, they say, of a long struggle to return to a white majority rule in the U.S. Michael Jones, WSFA TV News at the state capitol.
Business in the downtown Montgomery area was light today, more than likely in anticipation of the Klan March and the possibility of violence. Police Chief Charles Swindle. Do you think that when a Klan March is announced well in advance, a lot of citizens stay away from the downtown area?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure that you have a few curious people, but I think you saw the example today. The only people downtown was Klan and the police officers and a few shoppers.
Law enforcement officials were out en masse before, during, and after the Klan March. In fact, Montgomery Police, County Sheriff's Department officers, and state troopers outnumbered marchers more than 2 to 1. As promised, police kept a close eye on the Klansmen, looking for guns under their robes, but they found nothing. Mayor Emery Fulmer afterwards said he was proud of the way officers and citizens handled themselves during the march. Police Chief Swindle noted the large law enforcement contingency was not a show of force, but rather a precautionary step.
A combined effort of about 100 law enforcement officers were on hand this afternoon to take care of the march.
Did you expect any trouble, or were you anticipating it?
No, we don't ever expect any. We try to prepare for it.
Were you satisfied with today's protection?
I think the officers done an excellent job. We had full cooperation out of the Klan. They did not cause any problems. They marched as I guess they have a right to, and we didn't want anybody bothering them or them bothering anybody, so that's the reason the officers on hand today.
Law enforcement officials will be back out next weekend as a different Klan group completes a 3-day march from Selma to Montgomery. Paul Roth, WSFA TV News. It was 3 o'clock this morning when Brenda Mays and her husband Gerald Flakes heard someone break into their apartment at 652 Mill Street in Montgomery. According to 23-year-old Roosevelt Mays, the intruder knocked a hole in the living room window, removed the screen, and entered the apartment, stopping only to open the front door for a quick escape. Mays says while he was asleep, the robber came upstairs into his room and was going through the pockets of a pair of pants when the couple jumped the man.
I jumped up, I looked, and everything, but I jumped up and grabbed the dude, he started running for the door.
Did he put up any great resistance?
Yeah, it was like stuck. I don't believe my brother would hold him, if I wouldn't have grabbed him.
Flakes and Mays held the intruder while neighbors called police. Only until the 3 residents had wrestled the intruder to the ground did they discover he had a .22 caliber revolver. Were you worried about the gun afterwards?
I didn't know he had it until we had to throw him down. We had to pull it out.
You think you'd do it again?
Yeah, I think I'll do it again.
Police arrested Aaron Talley of 715 Stewart Street and charged him with first-degree burglary and being an ex-felon in possession of a firearm. You think more people should protect themselves in this way?
I don't know if I had a gun then, I'd be out blowing them away.
Paul Roth, WSFA TV News.
It was typical Talladega, a hot day, a crowded grandstand, and a very fast racetrack. It did not take long for high speeds to claim its share of race cars. On the 6th lap, Donnie Allison pulled his car into the garage.
Well, when you break a valve spring, it's not too long after usually you drop a valve, and I believe that's what happened.
When did you know what happened?
Well, I run about 5 or 6 laps, and the engine kept getting weaker and weaker, and I knew then it was all over with.
So you'll be done for the day now?
Yeah, I'm going to stand by. Daryl's not feeling well, and if he needs me to help him, I'm going to be here to help him.
Darrell Waltrip might have been suffering with the flu, but you could not tell it from the way he drove his Oldsmobile. For the first half of the race, Waltrip held back, content to watch pole sitter Neil Bonnet and Cale Yarborough duel each other. But Bonnet left after the 71st lap with valve trouble. Then Yarborough had to exit.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, we think the rear end burned off on us. We've been having a little oil leak, and I guess it leaked all the grease out the rear end.
Are you going to be able to get out again?
Well, we're changing the rear end, but we might have some engine problems too. We'll just have to wait and see.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
That left Darrell Waltrip in the driver's seat, and he pushed his car to the limit, fighting his own physical sickness and David Pearson. But with an average speed of 161.229 miles an hour, he conquered both foes and took the checkered flag. It was a very tired Darrell Waltrip who sat in victory lane.
You know, I felt real bad before the race started, and I was afraid that my performance might not be as good as the cars, but once I started getting out front and leading, you'd be surprised how good I got the feeling, and the stronger the car run, the stronger I felt, and everything just went great. Robert Yates, my hat's off to him. He did a super job on the engines today, and Buddy and Gary and Butch, all the boys that worked on this race car, just really went out and showed everybody. We had a little adversity last week at Pocono, but it didn't get them down, just made them tougher, and we're back in the winner's circle where we belong, and I'm proud of them.
David Pearson held on to finish second, followed by Ricky Rudd and Richard Petty. But the day clearly belonged to Waltrip. His Talladega 500 victory increases his lead in the Grand National Stock Car point standings. Fred Albers, WSFA TV Sports in Talladega, Alabama.
So you'll be done for the day now?
Yeah, I'm going to stand by. You know, Darrell's not feeling well, and if he needs me to help him, I'm going to be here to help him.
Thank you.
You know, I felt real bad before the race started, and I was afraid that my performance might not be as good as the cars, but once I started getting out front and leading, you'd be surprised how good I got the feeling, and the stronger the car run, the stronger I felt, and everything just went great. Robert Yates, my hat's off to him. He did a super job on the engines today, and Buddy and Gary and Butch, all the boys that worked on this race car, just really went out and showed everybody. We had a little adversity last week at Pocono, but it didn't get them down, just made them tougher, and we're back in the winner's circle where we belong, and I'm proud of them. I run hard all day, you know. I never did have really a moment of rest, even though I was a lap ahead. I did have to try to keep Pearson and everybody, you know, that lap down just for security, so I never backed off all day. It's the hardest that I've ever run here. It's the best I've ever run here, even counting the other race that I won here in '77. I'm super, super proud of my boys.
The Holmes suit says the county commission held a 4-hour secret meeting on July 30th for the purpose of deciding budgetary matters and funding priorities for governmental services jointly funded by the city of Montgomery. Holmes says the law only provides for secret meetings if the good name or character of a person is discussed. Several city officials were in that meeting, and 2 reporters were asked to leave. Since a quorum of city councilmen was not present, Holmes says the suit was limited to the county commission. Whatever the case, Holmes seems to be supported by several opinions from the Office of the State Attorney General. This opinion, rendered in May of 1977, says the Sunshine Law applies to county commissions. Another opinion, dated July 7, 1976, says the only exception to the law is when the good name and character of a man or woman is being discussed. Furthermore, states the opinion, quote, all meetings of the governmental body specified, whether formal or informal, must be open to the public. Some of the city and county officials have indicated that the July 30th session was a working meeting and not formal. Another opinion addresses the formal nature of meetings. In this case, the Attorney General's office said the Macon County Board of Education could not meet informally behind closed doors to discuss a new policy manual for the system. The Holmes suit was filed in circuit court, but Holmes says he will go all the way if necessary to make sure the public has access to meetings of the county commission when spending tax money is discussed. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
Would like to think that the tonight that the administration will propose a budget to the council, David.
How much money is involved here?
About 3.4 million.
And how many people showed up to testify?
We had one citizen input.
Will they have any more responses?
It will be interesting to see, won't it?
Saturday, August 4th, about 50 Ku Klux Klan members marched through downtown Montgomery to protest, among other things, a new state law prohibiting firearms within 1,000 feet of a public demonstration. But firearms were present, carried by law enforcement officers who outnumbered the Klansmen 2-1. Montgomery policemen put in over 260 man-hours Saturday following a lengthy planning session with county and state law officials. Montgomery Mayor Emery Fulmer was involved in the preparation and was on the scene during the march. Fulmer has kept tabs on what it cost the city.
It was a burden on the taxpayer. It was counting everything that we did Saturday over and above our normal patrolling activity and normal detective work and normal administration. We probably spent $2,500 of the taxpayers' money providing security and traffic control, one for the Hart Fund, which was a very small amount, maybe $100 to $150, and then the balance of it of $2,300 counting everything to provide security for the Ku Klux Klan parade.
The Klan is planning a Selma to Montgomery march, leaving Selma Thursday, getting to Montgomery sometime Sunday. Does Fulmer plan any changes from the way city has handled past marches?
Our plan will be that when a group like this that has a propensity to cause violence comes to town, we will be there in such sufficient force to be able to guarantee, one, that no one will bother the group that's going to parade, nor will they be allowed to bother anybody else.
Michael Jones, WSFA TV News.
Kelly Stevens standing around like he wants to get his license. Buy another motorcycle with it. How about you? All right, don't come back with anything less than number one. Right. Split.
Through their city as a beginning point to a march that will end on the Capitol steps in Montgomery this weekend. Councilman J.D. Hunter questioned the motives of the Klan march.
I, too, like Reverend Hunter, think that whatever their purposes are, they are anti-democratic.
Therefore, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, I cannot afford to vote in the behalf of my enemy.
Whether we agree with them 100% in their objective is not the issue. The issue is whether they have a right to a parade permit.
But Mayor Carl Morgan put the issue on what he considered the bottom line.
My thought in giving the permit is simply to safeguard the community and to allow them to expeditiously start their march and get out of town. That's the main thing.
The city's parade permit allows the Klan to park their cars on this field north of the city, located beside the George Corley Wallace Community College. The Klan will then later gather on this old boat ramp to begin their march. The route leads the group through what's expected to be heavily patrolled downtown Selma City blocks and then across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. No Klansmen were present at the city council meeting, but this man, Grand Dragon Bill Wilkerson, is expected to lead the Klansmen on a march they reportedly say is to wipe out the shame of the white man when several thousand blacks and whites made the same trip 14 years ago, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In Selma, Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
Sheely's the number one quarterback, I can tell you that now, to start with. And we're hopeful. See, he hasn't been tackled, starts he hasn't been hit. He has been hit. One day we were out there last spring. I believe it was Wayne Hamilton, somebody was running what we call a hard, coming right down the line. It's wide open. Sheely running reverse option. He wheeled around about the time Hamilton put his head here right in his throat. I thought he killed him, but he got right up. We didn't learn, or I didn't learn, in the spring who the second quarterback was going to be. We're going to work Jim Bob at safety, but we're going to keep his hand in the quarterback until, you know, the thing is settled. And we're going to do that with 2 or 3 others.
The Montgomery County Grand Jury is meeting here this week, and one possible target of their investigation is former Building Commission Director Hugh Adams. We're told Adams may be giving grand jurors more evidence against him by furnishing affidavits for use in a civil suit against State Finance Director David Bronner. Court records show that Adams has stated he may have turned money from architects over to the Wallace campaign. Several architects have told investigators they paid kickbacks in return for state work. Investigators were looking for any evidence they could find. Now sources close to the probe say the civil suit documents are a gold mine of information. The Montgomery County Grand Jury is known to be considering bringing indictments against Adams and several others in connection with alleged wrongdoing involving the State Building Commission. There is yet another investigation going on into the dealings of former Wallace administration personnel. It is aimed at the multi-million-dollar state-run and operated alcohol beverage stores. They grossed $160.8 million last year. We've been told a combined force of state and federal agents have been questioning former ABC board members and employees about the operation of that agency during the Wallace years. We've also been told the probe has sent agents into Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, Florida, New York, New Jersey to interview owners and operators of distilleries. The team of investigators are trying to determine why certain liquor companies received huge volumes of business while other distillers got only anemic requests for their brands here in Alabama. One Jackson, Mississippi businessman is said by informed sources to be a possible prime target for questions by agents looking into the dealings of the ABC board during the Wallace years. At this point, specific criminal acts have not been revealed to this reporter, but it is believed by our sources that there are either documents or witnesses to illegal dealings by some unnamed former ABC officials and liquor salesmen. Investigators are said to be looking into ABC operations for several years, and the completion of the probe is expected to take at least 12 months. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News, reporting.
Early Friday morning, authorities found this late model car on its side in Pine Creek just off US 31 south of Prattville. 24-year-old Kathy Hyatt was lying about 20 feet away from the vehicle in Pine Creek. Acting Autauga County Coroner Steve Jones says state toxicologists in Birmingham have informed him that the cause of death was drowning. A complete report is expected later. Prattville Police Chief Norris Champion says so far they are treating the incident like a regular traffic fatality. Chief Champion says the woman's husband, Radford Hyatt, is recovering from injuries he sustained in the accident. Champion says just how the crash occurred is still under investigation. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
It was $383 per month income. When Social Security gave a 9.9% increase, that raised it to about $420. The new ceiling is now $421, which means that the 180 people that people have been afraid might have to leave the nursing homes will stay in there.
All right. Is there any information that was given to you that would explain exactly why it would be cheaper?
Well, the Medicaid pays the balance of the nursing home fee that the patient cannot pay. Therefore, if someone is making more in a nursing home, then Medicaid pays less. Therefore, I think it comes out to about $12,000 a month to pay for these people who are already in there, and they estimated it would be around $17,000 a month if they let the people that are in there now leave and brought in new people.
Trash pickup points, and we continued our program of having additional trucks going through there. Got a conviction in less than 60 days. I think that's just successful. The mayor just mentioned the rape of the 70-year-old lady last night, or the attempted rape of her. And
there's what we call some real men, some real women, some part men and part women. But I was better blamed.
That we much cleaner now. They did a good job. And somewhere along the line, he's kind of...
Proposed ordinance adopting standard building code 1979 edition. Members of council, you've heard the reading of this, Mr. Mayor.
You will remember that at the time we put this proposal...
I don't know everybody. You people are not in business. You don't know everybody. There's some what we call some real men, some real women, some part men and part women. And
number one, the foreman, Mr. Martin. You might go split.
Carter arrives in Barstown, Kentucky for town meeting. 2 minutes to Washington. Irving R. Levine on Chrysler Corporation financial woes, 1:15. 3 Chicago. Denise Baker on Cambridge, Ohio fire, kills 9, running 1:15. 4 Miami. Ike Siemens on judge sentences Bundy to Florida's electric chair. No time given as yet.
From the audience, Simpson presented drawings of the assailant made from an eyewitness description.
Ladies and gentlemen, that sketch right there is an identification of Theodore Robert Bundy as the man going through the door of the Talmega House on the morning of January 15th of 1978. Look at it yourself.
Defense attorney Margaret Good spent her time attacking the prosecution's evidence, saying it is flimsy and was gathered unprofessionally.
But I ask you not to compound that tragedy with convicting the wrong man, where the state's evidence is insufficient to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Bundy and no one else is the person that committed these crimes.
After nearly 2.5 weeks of testimony, the case is now in the hands of the jury. Bundy himself never testified before it. If the verdict is guilty of murder in the first degree, Bundy could be sentenced to die in Florida's recently reactivated electric chair. Mark Potter for NBC News, Miami.
The contest pitted the nationally ranked Springfield Spoke Jockeys against a team of former and current collegiate and professional athletes. The all-star roster boasted names like Lloyd Walton of the Milwaukee Bucks and former New York Knicks front courtman Dave Stallworth. The Spoke Jockeys are currently ranked 8th in the nation out of 250 teams, and they showed the pros a fine contest. Roger Powell, a member of the Illinois State University coaching staff and a former standout forward, says the game of basketball takes on a different perspective when it's played on two wheels instead of a pair of healthy
Very
legs.
Difficult, you know. You never know how hard it is until you sit down on one of those chairs and try to maneuver it up and down the basketball court.
The standout on the Springfield squad is Joe Termine, wearing number 42 in white. He's been with the team since 1972 and has found it both challenging and rewarding.
The ball team, or the ball game, is the same as the college. It's the same rules as the college basketball team. The only difference is we have 2 pushes, and then we dribble the ball at least 1 time, and we're allowed 5 seconds instead of 3 seconds in the lane. It helps to go out and give that extra effort. And there's more disabled than I, and it's great to see other people come out.
The Spoke Jockeys came up with some dazzling plays, but bowed to the All-Stars 80-74. Participants all enjoyed the game, and the visiting pros learned about another type of athlete who has overcome seemingly insurmountable odds to compete. And that, in essence, is what the real spirit of sportsmanship is all about. Fred Hickman, Jacksonville, Illinois.
Nobody has yet ventured